Great. All right. Well, first of all, thanks, Ajay. I mean, we're very glad to be here. A special hello to all of the attendees.
Hi, this is Cheryl Burgess. I appreciate being invited here.
All right, so we're basically calling you from a conference room at the conference board in New York City, where it is snowing a lot. So, but it makes a nice warm environment to be able to talk about a topic that we are very, very passionate about. Can you change the slide? Terrific. Okay. Well, you know, when Cheryl and I started to write the book, The Social Employee, we've got, you know, a number of different success stories, brands that are really looking to put a lot of time and energy and effort into the opportunity, realizing that it really is the future and one that's really happening, obviously, in front of us. So, but we realize that basically it's kind of more than a book. I mean, we really kind of think about what we're doing as a revolution. It's a movement. It's a revolution for companies that can participate to really help you win the hearts and minds of your employees, and they become very much your brand ambassadors. So in a lot of ways, social employees or social employee advocates are fundamentally changing the way a business does business today. One thing I want to mention very quickly is that we were very honored recently when Tom Peters happened to endorse our book as his #1 social business book. So I think he indeed is getting into the action as well. So let's start with a couple of common definitions. You know, what is a social employee? Basically, a social employee is someone who's engaged, they're passionate about what they do, they're a believer in their firm's mission, vision, values, they're very much aligned with the goals of those particular, you know, the brand that they work for. And importantly, they are trained and skilled in the use of the right social media tools. So they become a valuable business asset for your firm. So when you think about it, you also need to recognize that today, I think around half of the world's population is under 30 years of age. So you think about it, it's the age of the millennial that we're hearing a lot about in the last few months. And kind of ask yourself, how many of my employees are millennials? So the group is very different in that they want to know why they need to do something when you ask them to do it, as opposed to just what needs to be done. So the opportunity to be advocates, to be social employees, to share content that is of value is a tremendous thing that is important to them. So one of our chapters is the Cisco chapter that goes into great depth about getting buy-in to mission, vision, and value from the key executives and layers of management within Cisco. Basically, that process led to creating social employees.
Okay.
No, go back one.
We got.
No. All right. So a quick transition to the why here. I mean, so why should brands care about fostering a culture of social employees? And then ask yourself at the same time, you know, what can an army of social employees do for my brand? All right, so what are some of the key benefits to your organization? So I think it starts with the premise that people don't really want to talk to a logo. When you think business to business, it's really a lot more personal than that. People want to talk to the people that represent it, and that's part of what the social employee brings to it. We're also in an environment where marketing dollars continue to shrink. The impact of traditional marketing is also diminishing. So the opportunity to drive leads, sales, and value by fostering trust and authenticity is something that truly builds relationships with your customers. So one of the things you want to be thinking about is focusing on retaining high-valued employees. These are the people you really can't afford to lose, the ones who use social media to engage with their customers and prospects. So when you think about it, having an army of social employees essentially is going to create an incredible competitive advantage for you. All right.
All right. So here is a simple analogy to talk about the importance of social employees. And this comes from a slide that Ethan McCarty from IBM that shared with me to share with you, something that explains the power of the social employee. So imagine the baseball smooth surface is a metaphor for an organization's social media policy and the presence. And by contrast, imagine this bag of marbles as the company's social media policy and presence delivered by your employees. Which of these two have more surface area? That is, if you drop them into a bucket, they would displace the same volume of water. But what about the surface area? So the answer is the bag of marbles has 300% more surface area. That means 300% more interactions your brand could have, generating opportunities, sensing threats, and deepening relationships.
All right, so let's talk for a minute about the importance of the social media policy, which I would say is kind of the glue for making everything work. If you think about a simple analogy, a social media policy is a lot like the operating system of your PC. Basically, if it stops working, your computer is going to stop working. So one of the things you need to think about is you need to start with a foundation of guidelines and policies for your employees. You don't want to put pressure on them to mindlessly share content on their personal networks, which is back to the reason of being able to look at the right kind of content, approve the content, but make it available. The opportunity through, for example, dynamic signal is to really make it easy for the employees. It's going to be something they're going to enjoy doing, they're going to want to do, and it's not going to be like taking on an onerous task. So at IBM, very interesting in that instead of just dictating a policy to employees, the employees actually became co-authors of the company's social media policy. So when you think about it, what better way to get buy-in from your employees? So the conversations that we had with a number of IBM executives, they sort of said that, this became their Magna Carta moment, right? And employees were engaged and they were involved. They also, in a very positive way, had been asked to share their social media policy with many other companies, and they, happily provided that as well. All right, so the last example that I want to talk about is another one of our favorite brands, which is Southwest Airlines. So basically, Southwest was a social brand long before there were social brands, right? So they really instilled this in the value in their organization. So basically, they look at social media tools as extensions of their brand's culture. They have an intense focus on serving their customers and treating their employees well, and that's the key to really making everything work smoothly. So basically, Southwest doesn't mandate participation in social media. They seek out the employees they can bring the passion to what they do, they are empowered, they leverage the opportunities and the channels where those employees feel most comfortable in sharing. So we believe that the brands that focus on creating social employees who are empowered, they're motivated, they're trained to become ambassadors for their brands while leveraging their own personal brands, which, by the way, is another huge part of why we think that the ultimate success and migration of these ideas into companies across America is really going to be about that. It's a win-win. And we think those are the brands that participate are the ones that are going to win ultimately in the market.